everybody. Welcome to today's episode. I'm thrilled to have guest Dana VanRenterghem, a therapist out of Texas, back with us. And we talk about how to appropriately express feelings to our children and young adults. It's not what you think. Can't wait for you to hear more. Have a great listen. Hey, everybody. We're so excited to be here. We, as in me, and our guest, Dana VanRenterghem.
You've gotten so good at saying my name, Beth. I'm glad to be friends with somebody who doesn't have to ask me every single time how to say my name anymore. So thank you for getting it.
You're welcome. It matters.
I'm very excited to be here with you as well.
Yes, we love your expertise and your thoughts and your words. So that's how I feel about you. Okay, so I've invited Dana here, and we are going to talk about. It's nuanced. It's pretty tricky to figure out this topic, but the idea here is how much should a parent share with their kids, specifically regarding feelings? Like, how much of my feelings should my children be aware of that I'm having? And, do children create our feelings? I already know the answer to that. It's no. But just going to say, we're going to cover the question.
I think you're the expert here, Beth.
Well, we both know things.
We do. We
both know things. Yeah. So I just want to have a discussion about that, because what I've been noticing is parents are very confused, and I get it. I think some professionals are suggesting to the parents that they are to express their big emotions and big feelings to their children. So let's talk about that. What do you feel like that does? And we've already clarified that we agree that it's not a good idea, but let's talk about why.
Yeah, absolutely. And Beth, just so that I can paint a picture for your listeners, when you said that statement to me, I think you visibly saw my jaw drop or something like that, right? Because I 100% don't have that perspective. Working within our integrated attachment model and looking at, the roles of caregiver and seeker, yeah, I think you and I are in the same camp that there can be some damage done if we as parents or caregivers kind of put our big emotions back on our children, and the big outcome of that being the creation of shame, right?
Okay. So the shame of, like, you did this to me? Like, the blame of that, the shame of, like, oh, you're bad for doing this?
Yes, right.
Okay.
So toss an example at me here. Let's think of one. What's an example that you've gotten from one of the clients that you work with about feeling like they are supposed to share their emotions with their kiddo?
Great question. I think the professionals are suggesting that there's some kind of a natural consequence that a parent, quote, should have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe they are rummaging through their kid's backpack, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the parents find pills.
Okay.
And someone might suggest, you need to make sure that they know how upsetting that is. Or, like, you need to make sure that they know how much they, quote unquote, hurt you. Kind of like that.
Okay, great. That's a great example, Beth. And the response, I'm having kind of a visceral response in my body. Like, my stomach's getting a little queasy hearing that, like, the expectation would be to make your kiddo know how that makes you feel, when in reality, my mind is automatically jumping to what is going on for your kid.
Right.
Like, if they are using some type of substance, if they do have pills in their backpack, like, my first thought is not going to be like, wow. Well, my first thought may be, wow, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm confused. But really, I need to lead with that confusion with my kiddo, because if I'm going to say, I'm really upset about this, that communicates no care or curiosity or willingness to seek to understand to your child. And what that says to them is, my feelings right now in this moment are big and more important than whatever it is that you've got going on. And because I'm having these big feelings and you're causing them, you're bad. You're a problem, right? right?
Yeah.
And that's where that shame comes in. And whenever our kiddos hear that, and I don't know why I'm saying kiddos, that's not typically a word that I say, but
Probably I say it.
whenever our children hear
Right.
that, they hear mom, dad, parent, whoever is upset and it's my fault, I have to fix it. I have to
Yeah.
fix it and I have to take care of mom or dad. And that just simply isn't their job. It is
Well,
not
what's
our kids' jobs to take care of us.
right. And then they also think like, oh, I guess my parents can't handle me.
Mm,
Like, right? I guess I'm too much.
yeah.
And so then they either will hide it more or they will get someone else to do it, but it typically doesn't stop behavior. I think that's one of the things that confused parents think is like if and I know this isn't thoughtful, this is more reactive, right? But
Hmm.
you know, some of the phrases I literally remember saying back in the day when I didn't know better, which is many parents right now, they just don't know better. Is like, how could you do this to me? I can't believe you'd bring this in the house again. How dare you? Do you want your little sister to, you know, die? Like those kinds of comments,
Hmm.
because we're so fearful and we're worried. And instead of handling that on our own with a peer or with our therapist or something, right?
Yeah.
We are taking it out on our kids. And then sort of, which I think this isn't very intentional, but by doing that, we really want our kids to figure it out.
Yeah. And what I like about what you said there, Beth, is you actually like address the nuance of fear, right? So at the
Mm.
core of this for a lot of parents is that fear that something bad is going to happen to their kid or other children in the house. But the difference being like we're not going to make it about the content of, drugs in a backpack. We're going to make it about the fear of loss of connection. It's not about the behavior, right? But we're
Absolutely.
ultimately scared that our kid's not going to be around or they're not going to be present or they're not going to be connected with us, right? And that's the type of consequence within relationship that is appropriate to express to our kids whenever we're struggling
Oh,
with things like that, right? So like, hey, like I found this in your backpack. I'm a little confused about it and would love to hear what's going on, right? Lead with curiosity, but then also get to a place where you can express, like, I appreciate you sharing that all with me. I do have some more questions. And I do just want you to know, like, I was scared when I found this
yes.
because the story that I'm telling myself is that this was happening. You were getting yourself into some really bad things. And I was worried that you weren't going to be you and that we weren't going to be connected in the same way that we've always been. Right. And so none of what I just said was accusatory in any way. I owned my statement with the story that I'm telling myself.
I
I
love that.
made it about what's at the core of it instead of the actual content of what was found in the backpack. And I'm still seeking for more connection with my kid in that moment. At no point did I say, hey, you're bad and make me feel better.
Yeah. That's such a good example. And a few things, right? In order for a parent to get to be that conscious, that thoughtful,
Yeah.
you know, and I've talked a lot about this, but you can step away from the backpack, go
Yeah.
take some time, you know, initiate a pause so that you can go literally put yourself back together, because it is extremely terrifying and it's scary and we don't know what's going to happen. We feel like we're losing our child, all of those things. But I don't know, it's kind of funny, but I like to say, but none of that is your kid's business,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
So you get to have feelings as a person, of course, and then you get to go process through that, like we were saying, with a peer or your own therapist or somebody like that. And then when you come back, I liked the difference of, you know, in this first scenario, we're feeling in the moment, right?
Yes.
It's like present feelings, and as we all know, or many of us know, present feelings are everywhere, right? They're up and they're down and they're sideways and they're explosive and then they're avoidant, and we just, you know, we don't have much of a thoughtful brain when we're experiencing high emotion. So we've got to
Correct.
separate ourselves from that a bit. And I loved when you come back, I heard like a past tense version
Mm-hmm.
because of the story I had in my head, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's full accountability. Wow, I was feeling pretty scared.
Yeah.
And that is so much different than throwing up your fear on your kid.
Absolutely, right? And I like how you pointed out that past tense. It really does take that ownership for where we're at. And I encourage too, like you're saying, to take that bit of space and to really process it by yourself or with your caregivers, your support system, reminding yourself that, like, yes, I may be having some feelings about this right now. This may be hard, but I have to remind myself all of the time. And I'm moving beyond the example you're using right now, and thinking of my own kids. I have to remind myself that, like, they're not giving me a hard time, they're having a hard time. And
Yes.
my job as their parent, as a caregiver, is to tend to that. It is
Yeah.
not the other way around, and they should not have to be especially caring for my emotions, right? Emotions that, again, you pointed out at the very beginning, they did not cause, they are not theirs, they did not force us to feel these way, right? There are emotions, and we can take accountability and go process them elsewhere.
Yeah. It's interesting. I hear parents, I feel like this goes really along with it, is they want a reciprocal response from their child, even a young adult child.
Mm-hmm.
Even in like with the emotion thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're, because I hear the words parents say, right?
Right.
Well, you're putting all these emotions on me. Why can't I put them back on you? And I know they don't say that, but that's how they're acting. That's how they feel. And I had a parent say that a week or two ago. It's like, and she was actually aware. She was like, man, I keep thinking this is a reciprocal relationship. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, awesome catch, because it's not.
Yes.
And even if your kid is 25 or, maybe even 55, I don't know,
Right.
it's up there, right? That it's still never a reciprocal relationship. Will you help us understand that more? Because that's pretty crazy. It's like, wait a minute, we're all adults here. That's what the parents think. We're all adults here. So what's the problem?
Yeah, right. And so, and I'm glad you said it in a little bit more. I think your approach to that conversation was a little bit kinder than the one that I may have been thinking in my head. I may have been thinking that, like, hey, you as parents chose to be in this position. These kids did
Yes.
not these kids did not choose to be birthed into this situation, and they have no responsibility to you, right?
Yes,
You
that's true
did
too.
um, bring this child into this world, or bring this child into your home, if they were not biologically born unto you, and you made that choice, right? Like you made that choice, and you're in this position, and you have signed up to be the primary caregivers for this person, right? And we're thinking about attachment, like the role of caregiver in the parent and child relationship is always going to
Mhm.
stay static. The parent is always going to stay in the caregiver role, and the child is always going to stay in the seeker role until, and this is where the nuance I think you're asking about kind of takes place, is when those biological hands of time turn, and, like, a parent is no longer cognitively or physically able to take care of a child, right? Like, that's where the change occurs.
Okay.
I try not to think about it when my parents get to the age when they're going to need to be cared for, or in a assisted living home or something like that. But that's when the flip switches. Until that time, when our parents can no longer care for us, they are always going to be in the caregiver role, and we are always going to be in the seeker role as children.
Okay, so you've mentioned these terms a couple times.
Yes.
Let's explain to the audience, like, what is a caregiver? What is a seeker? You want to just go into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a caregiver is somebody who is, I'm going to sound like such not a dictionary right now, but somebody who is giving care, right? Their role
Yep.
within the relationship is to make sure that the seeker, who is the person looking for support, right? Looking for support, looking for guidance, looking for the encouragement of exploration, looking for protection. We can look into those 5 healthy pillars of attachment. The caregiver is providing structure and support to that seeker, right? And
Mhm.
again, the seeker has to be willing to go into that role in a healthy and adaptive way, as does a caregiver. Just as a caregiver has to understand what their role is, a seeker does too. I typically tend to tell folks that a caregiver can't be a good caregiver to a crappy seeker, and a
Oh.
good seeker can't be a good seeker to a crappy caregiver. So
So
parents,
everybody has a role to play.
yes, everybody has a role to play, right?
Yeah.
One of the, I would say, one of the bigger parts that seekers often miss, one of the commitments of the seeker, is to actually accept caregiving. And
Yeah.
I think that maybe,
Yeah.
I'm sure you have some examples of this. Maybe when we get into some of those angsty teenage years, it can be really difficult to accept caregiving from our parents,
Yeah.
from, elder family members, whatever it may be. And so just perfect. Like you said, everybody has their own role. And when those roles get confused is when we see some dysfunction, right?
Yeah.
And the impact being, if I am a parentified child because I have been put into the role of caregiver by my parents, that is going to not only impact the relationship that I have with them, but it's going to start to play out in other relationships that I have in my life too. Partnerships, friendships, all of those things, the things that I have learned about relationships from my, family of origin, from my primary caregivers, is gonna repeat itself elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
So lots and lots of impact that kind of snowball from this topic.
Oh my goodness, that's fascinating. I even know about this stuff and I'm just like, whoa. I love it so much. I think it's because it just really resonates with me and it's what I learned in so many words. What
Well,
was actually my part in my parenting and what was my kiddo's part
yeah,
and how we just figured not sort of we definitely did figure it out. So
yeah. And it takes some time. And I want to be
yes.
like explicitly clear. I think I say this every time I'm on here with you is, and I'm wearing my bonus parent shirt today.
Nice.
Just to feel a little bit stronger as we're talking about these things. But like being a parent is hands down the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and I'm convinced it is the hardest thing I will ever do. And I want to be clear that as we're sitting here talking about these things, probably multiple times a week, am I at home and my kids have unfortunately heard how I'm feeling about something, right? And so I don't want to
Yeah,
sound
sure.
like somebody sitting on a pedestal preaching to everyone else. Like I want to take accountability and verbalize like how hard this is and recognize that we are humans, right? Parents are humans. We're
Yeah.
going to make mistakes. And this, I think this ties into what we talked about last time. The biggest thing that we can do when we make mistakes is repair with our kids, right? We can use that
Yeah.
as an example of how to do a better job moving forward. We can take accountability for what we did. We can clarify that it was not their role or their responsibility to care for us. And we can give the intention to change that, hey, in the future, when I'm having big feelings, I'll step away or I'll go find somebody else to process them with because this is not your role.
Yes. Yes. It's really interesting what children will do when they feel in charge of you.
Mm.
It's fascinating. Um, I can just like, I just think of a few times in my own life when that's
Mm-hmm.
happened. And and I don't think I would have recognized it earlier, but nowadays it, and there's a bit of like a little bit of a role reversal. It
Mm-hmm.
happens. And my younger kiddo, who's like 9.5 now, uh, yeah, we'll start to just honestly say things a parent would, and then I can kind of catch it like, oh, no, like I've got me, or I'll
Yes.
say something like that, like, you know, I'm gonna work this out. I'm okay. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll see me crying or something like that. And I'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's so cute because you want them. My heart grew 3 sizes when he's like, oh my gosh, mom, this is a while back. Are you okay? I'm like, oh, I am okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for noticing. Right. And that's just a slight example, I think, of him possibly feeling like he has to care for me.
No, and
Um,
that's a great example, Beth. And I have goosebumps underneath my sweater because that happens in our house a lot too.
yeah.
The kids see their mom crying and they're the first people to want to go give her a hug and make her feel better. Right.
Yeah.
And we've gotten to this point of kind of like you're saying with your youngest, of like reassuring and validating, like, hey, yes, I am okay. And it's okay to have feelings. I'll work
Yes.
through these. I'll go do what I need to do. thanks for checking on me, I'll be okay, right? You're doing a really good job of like acknowledging that you're having feelings and also reinforcing that it's not their job to fix it for you or change it for you.
Yeah, or to do something like, I promise I won't watch too much TV today. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not what's happening right now,
Is that
right?
what you were crying about?
No, but I think sometimes he feels like he watches too much TV. That's funny. But when
No,
we're thinking about,
no, go ahead.
I think when we're talking about like middle adolescents, teenagers, those young adults, it's a very interesting vibe, because I remember our son saying things like, you couldn't even handle what's happening right now. He would say those things to me as if I was the child. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you, and I know he really thought that, because he said it over and over and over. And I'm like, and probably because I was reactive at the time, for sure. And so then I was showing him what I couldn't handle, and he was very aware.
Yeah.
And so that's an example of maybe something a teenager might say. And I kind of alluded to this before, but I think if I'm not okay with what they're doing, then this is all of the things we're saying, they will take it upon themselves that they're either doing it wrong or that they need to protect me. So they might go and do another, I'll say, unhelpful behavior to even sort of protect me, perhaps, which is fascinating. So
it is the way that all works, and thinking about, again, there's always a need behind the behavior. There's always a reason why, kids are doing what they're doing. It's always tough when you were talking about the statement of, you can't handle this. What came to my mind was, well, I wonder if what we've shown them in the past is that we couldn't handle it, right?
Yeah.
And that's an example of, we've all probably been there. We've all probably reacted to something in a way that wasn't helpful or didn't communicate what we really wanted it to. And that's how it was perceived by our kids. So again, another really good opportunity to explore, like, hey, can you help me understand that statement? Like, if I'm doing something that hasn't been helpful or supportive, I would love to talk about it. I would love to do better. Right.
Yes.
And just always kind of leading with that curiosity to be supportive.
Yeah, I love that, lead with curiosity. We could say that a few more times. It's interesting because I think this kind of points toward a little bit of like, okay, if there's a parent who's this is resonating with, like, what do they do? And I think one of the things that you mentioned is parents absolutely need their own support system. They need somebody to go and cry to. Peers or a therapist or a doctor or somebody, so that they can, because parents absolutely need support too, right? Like you said, I think they need to go to their caregivers. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like, just because you are the primary caregiver in a parent-child relationship, which again, you stay in that role, that doesn't mean that you don't have another relationship where you are the seeker and you have a caregiver, or you are in another reciprocal relationship where sometimes you're the seeker and sometimes you're the caregiver, right? There are appropriate places to have those conversations, to have your story heard, to hear your pain and hurt and frustration and anger, all of the emotions witnessed and understood by somebody else, because they are really real, right? The things that our kids are struggling with impact us for a reason. We've got our own stuff going on, right? And it is so important that somebody, an appropriate person, hears that and helps us feel understood, cared for, loved, accepted as we are.
Thank you for saying that. Oh my gosh. It's so true. It's so true. Parents, like you were saying, it's the hardest job, and we really do need support. It's so hard. And I also really appreciate what you're saying about, like, you can be a more healthy seeker and a not so healthy seeker, right? You can use all the manipulation tactics that they all do so well. And I mean, so there's you cannot solve everything just by being a good parent. Yeah. I mean, amen.
And maybe that's I know we're closing in on our time today, Beth, but maybe that's another topic we can talk about, the commitments of the seeker and the commitments of the seeker for the seeker and the healthy pillars of attachment for parents at some point in the future, right? So we can maybe understand a little bit better what our roles are, either as the caregiver or the seeker.
Yes, please. I can hear everybody. Yes, bring Dana back. Yeah, and we do have to go. But thank you so much. That was so informative. I just thank you for
Yeah.
your time and everything.
No problem. Love being here with you, Beth, and really appreciate all that you're doing for your people.
Ah, ditto, my friend. All right. Catch you guys later. Bye bye.